Welcome to the Limitless Ladies Network, a women's holistic wellness podcast where our mission is to help women build holistic self-care. The following disclaimer applies to all episodes and content shared on this show. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Limitless Ladies Network or its affiliates. The information and advice provided on this podcast are for general educational purposes only and should not be considered as professional medical, nutritional, or therapeutic advice. The content shared on this podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or health condition. Listeners are advised to consult with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to their diet, lifestyle, or health routine. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that you are aware of the limitations and potential risks associated with the information and advice shared on this show. You release and hold harmless Limitless Ladies Network, its hosts, guests, and affiliates from any liability for any damages, losses, or injuries that may result from the use of the information and advice provided on this podcast. Welcome to Limitless Ladies Network, where our mission is to help women build holistic, empathetic self-care. Today's episode is sponsored by Seroptimus International Wilmantic. The name Seroptimus means best for women. Seroptimus International's mission is to help women and girls to live their dreams. Seroptimus is a global volunteer organization that provides women and girls access to education and training they need to achieve economic empowerment. It's a great women-based organization that supports the ladies and young girls of our local communities here in the Northeast and globally. I am proud to be on the board and actually to help serve in some of the various community projects that we've had, including the Live Your Dream Award and the Dream at Be It program that we've done at a local college. So please visit us at seroptimuswilmantic.org to learn more about how you can join the mission to improve the lives of women and young girls. And so thank you. Today I am joined with Joanna Cirigliano. Joanna is a licensed marriage and family therapist based in Eastern Connecticut. She began her clinical journey in 2013 at a nonprofit agency and went on to open her own private practice in 2017. Joanna provides therapy to individuals, couples, and families with a special focus on helping couples and families build healthy, connected relationships. Her work with individuals addresses a range of concerns, including anxiety, depression, trauma, and grief. Joanna is passionate about supporting others in their healing and personal growth. Outside of the therapy room, Joanna enjoys spending time with her family and friends, often outdoors in nature, in the garden, and around a table with good food. So welcome, Joanna.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And I also love spending time out in my garden, so.
It is a good place. It's a good place.
It is a good, peaceful place, that is for sure.
Yes.
So thank you for joining me today to talk about how we can honor ourselves and set some really good boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us being women and caregivers and kind of the matriarch of the family running some things, we tend to have trouble sometimes, saying no and honoring our own needs. So it can be a really tough thing for us to do. I thought it would be great for us to have an open discussion about some tips and some strategies maybe that you can help give us in order to improve that, as well as maybe boost up some of our support systems that we might be dealing with. So can you tell us why it's important actually for us to set boundaries?
Yeah. So boundaries, absolutely. I think the key thing with boundaries is it keeps everyone safe, whether it's emotional, physical, sexual, financial, right? Boundaries keep all of us on both sides, everyone involved, really safe. And it also brings like predictability. We know what we're walking into. We know that it's okay to ask for something, to have that support, have that care. So it really is that overarching, like an overarching umbrella. Like everyone really needs to know what the boundaries are. Because when they get blurred, that's where things get overstepped. Areas of conflict come up, tension come up, right? Unsafety. So the biggest thing with boundaries, it really is safety on all different areas.
That is very key, especially I think for young girls even. I talk about, us being women and caregivers, but even for young girls in today's society, whether that be, dealing with friends or online even can be challenging, I would imagine. So can you help maybe identify if we can actually help us, I guess, figure out how we might be able to identify if our boundaries are being crossed.
Absolutely. So I think something key too is oftentimes when I think of the anger, right? Like when we're angry, like oftentimes it's right, we don't like something that's happening. When it's anger that shows up in a relationship, many times, and sometimes like we don't know why we're angry. So even when I'm working with my clients, I'm like, well, just sit in it for a minute. Like, what is it that is upsetting you? What that is making angry? And anger can it when we learn to be comfortable with it, it can really be a really good teacher of like, ooh, that overstepped a boundary. We don't like what happened. Our emotions can too. Sometimes it's sadness. Sometimes it's that our intuition that like, oh, that doesn't feel good. And our first instinct sometimes is to just push it aside, shove it down. Doesn't matter. I need to take care of the person on the other side of me. No, if your body's talking to you, it's so important to listen to that. So that's where emotions can be helpful. Anger is
Absolutely. That's that follow that gut instinct, right? So if
absolutely.
someone's kind of pressuring you to do something and your gut is churning or you just feel a little odd, right? You should
Mhm.
probably listen to that and really just put up that wall or that boundary and say, no, that's really not for me.
Absolutely. And all of it, especially even too, I'm thinking, right? Like on social media, like there's a lot of information and a lot of loose boundaries on those platforms. So it's really important at any area, like any stage of life, later in life, middle, even especially our young girls, of like, if it feels weird, it doesn't sound right, or it makes you angry, or it's upsetting you, that's a place where, okay, we need a boundary. And what is that boundary? And that's also too, right? Having those supports are great people that we can go to be like, hey, this didn't feel good. I'm not sure. I need some help with some boundaries here.
Yeah, I love the fact that you point to our emotions as well as just not only our physical, like our guts giving us some type of intuition, but also that anger, right? Because I don't think a lot of women or even a lot of people think that anger is something that you can tap into to give you some insights as to really what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think we live in a world where we're taught like anger is bad. You're not supposed to, like, right? Like anger is so bad. Stay away from it. Shove it down. And I'm thinking too, right? Oh, also saying like, oh, just put your boundaries away. Shove those down. Just,
Right.
right? Control it. Move it. And it's like, no, no, no. We get to listen to that. And you're right. How we deliver that and how we show up is also important. But we do get to listen to
Mm,
what our body is telling us emotionally too.
yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So what are some key components that you would say would be good for establishing healthy boundaries?
Okay, so I think too, it depends knowing what part of your life, right? So, like, are we talking about your work area? Are we talking about family? Are we talking about friends? Are we talking about intimate partners? So, all those boundaries are going to absolutely show up a little differently. And also knowing, like, what, right? So, knowing the relationship, knowing what we want, knowing what that other person really wants to hear, right? So, something that's also really important is like, yep, back to listening to your body. Does it feel right? Do we feel safe? Um, and another thing too is can can we share what we need? Something what I often see too is where we can share what we need, but they're not listened to. So we think we're doing it wrong. So also like that's a key component too of like knowing what is yours, what is someone else's. If you can identify what you need and share it, and the person on the other side can hear it and respect that back, that's a sign of healthy boundaries. If the other side is dismissing it, ignoring it, pushing it back, gaslighting you, downplaying it, that's also that key component of like, oof, that doesn't feel like a healthy boundary. And right, as a marriage and family therapist, I'm always like, give that opportunity to repair. Like, can we have an open conversation of what is happening? As you practice and attempt to have those conversations, you'll see, can this person have that conversation with you? And are they willing to repair? Are they willing to be open and hear it and respect? Or is it going nowhere? It's not productive. You're being dismissed, or you're made to feel horrible, or your things are getting taken, or your time is getting taken. And that can just help you decide, oh, is that healthy or unhealthy? And I like to look at it too, right? Like it's a spectrum from healthy to unhealthy, depending on what area of life and with who. And that can shift. Boundaries are always moving and always shifting depending on the circumstances too. What's the topic of conversation? Some parts in our relationships, we can be doing great in this part and then not so great in another. So it really is, how do I show up? How does that person show up? Can we have those conversations? And what part of our life are we really talking about? So those all can look a little different depending on season of life, work, with who, home.
Yeah, that makes total sense because you will often have various different scenarios, like you said, and I like that you're bringing in all aspects. So obviously your work relationship with your boss, you want to make sure that you're being respectful and it is your job, it's your livelihood. So you want to tread lightly, I guess, in terms of being able to say no to that person because your livelihood depends on it. So that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
Versus how you would be saying no to a family member or to your friends if they're trying to persuade you to do something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like in a work setting, right? Like you were hired for a job. And you're right, you're hired for a job, your role is to do it. So your role in that dynamic is these are my duties that I agreed to. The relationship is I provide these duties, I get compensated for it. We say yes, right? So we wouldn't say no to your job duties.
Right.
However, though, the boss has really poor boundaries and wants you to like pick up their kid or go get coffee or do those you can say, no, I'm
Right.
not comfortable, or that feels a little unprofessional. And then that can open conversations. A healthy relationship, a boss would be like, oh my goodness, you're right. Bad moment. I'm sorry. I'm stressed. I'm overwhelmed. You're right. Not appropriate. An unhealthy one would make you feel terrible for saying no.
Right. And
Mhm.
sometimes I think we need to also understand what our values are because you may be asked quite frequently, especially with a lot of at-home remote jobs these days, right? Where people tend to overwork, right? You're kind of expected that you can log in at any point in time during the evening to pick up on support stuff or whatever it might be, right? Because it's easily accessible. So that's sometimes you kind of get caught into that trap of, yeah, it's there, I can just do it really quickly. But sometimes you have to say no to yourself and just put it aside because you need to honor your own values of spending time with your family.
Absolutely. And that naturally brings right to like that self love, self compassion. What is it that you want in life? What lifestyle do you need? Who do you have? How do you want to spend that time? That also will help you decide where do your boundaries go? You might have a high demanding job, but you want to have dinner with your family every night. You put in your hours at work, you turn it off, you leave the room, you go have dinner with that family and you're present and you're mindful. So that apps, and that's all self-love and self-compassion of like, I'm worthy, I'm deserving to go have dinner with my family. They really matter to me. My job is taken care of.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we forget that, right? Because
Easy too.
we have instant gratification or we have instant access to our work, to social
Yeah.
media, to whatever it is that it's always at our fingertips. So sometimes
Oh,
it really is hard to be able to set our own boundaries to put that phone away, right?
it's so true. We live in this digital era that has made so many things so easily accessible, right? And everyone's walking around with a cell phone in their hand or not too far. So people are like, I know you heard it dink. And right, they're built to like, hey, I'm here. And though we still get to be really intentional and put it away and turn it off. And we get to say no. We
Right.
get to say no.
It
Mhm.
is very powerful.
It sure is.
Can you provide some samples of ways to say assertively no, but yet do it in a way that is not, not harmful, I guess?
Absolutely. And I know too, right? So like I'm thinking different situations we could be a little bit different. But I'm always like, I often see many of us really overthink it and we get to just truly just practice saying, no, thank you. Or not like, right, not interested, depending on what it is. If they're asking for a specific task and you don't want to do it or you're not able to do it, it is a simple like, no, thank you. I might not be a good fit for you. This isn't a really good time. I don't have the skill set to meet that. Um, if it's with family and friends, right? And it's something a little bit more personal and they want you to, let's say they really want you to like go out all weekend or they really want to host a whole family thing. But we know when we bring everyone together, everyone really has, it's the family dynamics.
Right.
You get to say, I hear you. I love it. However, right, the context of it. And that's not how I want to spend my weekend, or I'm not enjoying the entire this, but I'd be willing to do this, right? So saying, honoring and being honest with what is it I'm going through, what you feel,
Yeah.
and then give them an alternative, right? Because if someone from like a family or friend, they want to come and spend quality time with you, they're showing you love. You might just not like the idea that they have, but you want to show that love back. So you offer another alternative.
Right. And sometimes you can just say, that sounds great, but I had something else planned for the weekend, right? Like,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's okay to always be like, I'm not available, or
right.
that doesn't work with my schedule, or I have another commitment that I already agreed to. And it
Mhm.
is, and I do that. It's so easy. And especially too, if we have a trauma history, or if we just have a long span of struggling with boundaries, it is so normal and natural to get stuck in the overthinking and the explaining and the making sure you're going to take care of their emotions. And that's where it's like, pause, pedal back. Their stuff is theirs, yours is yours. And you don't always have to explain why you're saying no or no thank you. And sometimes it's so easy to get wrapped up in that, and then we're starting to word vomit, and then we're creating all this stuff, and then it gets really messy and confused. We don't even have to go there. We get to just I'm like, keep it simple. No thank you, doesn't align with me, I have another commitment, this day doesn't, but I'm willing to do this, or I'm willing to see you here instead, and keeping it really simple. It's
That's
natural.
smart. That's really
Mhm.
smart to keep it simple because I know from personal experience with having had a history of trauma that for me to say no was very difficult for a
Mhm.
while. Like it would give me anxiety, right? It's like, oh, I really don't want to say yes to this, but I know that I feel obligated to say yes, right? So then you have those internal struggles going on.
Yeah. And I mean, you bring up a really good question, right? Because if it's obligation, I have this conversation a lot. Are you only saying yes to the obligation? Because then it goes back to that part of our conversation of like, what's your value?
Right.
Is that something that you align with? Is that something you agree with? If it's if you're doing it out of pure obligation and you know you're gonna dread it and hate, you're not gonna show up as your best self. That doesn't feel good. And you're going to be anxious the day before or a whole week before. And like that doesn't feel good either.
Yeah.
So it's like when it's an obligation, like what type of obligation? Because that's a really good key of like, ooh, I'm only doing it because of this obligation, or I'm only doing it because I need to take care of someone else's emotions. Mm-mm. Our job is not to tend to someone else. Are we compassionate and aware and respectful of other people's emotions? Yes. Do we, and I think this also falls naturally too when we are caregivers and nurturers, matriarch. Like we have to take care of everyone's emotions and fix it all for them. We're gonna burn ourselves out. We're gonna
Mhm.
get so anxious, so overwhelmed, so sad, and then we're going to be carrying things that are not ours, and that's not fair to us. And we're also taking away, really, we're taking away from the other people to do their work, to be healthier versions of them, to learning how to accept no. No is hard. When we're excited, we want something, and someone tells us no, it's like, oh, I don't like that, and it's okay.
Yeah. And it's very interesting how when you think about when you're growing up as a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we would say no to things all the time, right? It was kind of built in almost that as a child, if you didn't want food, like we're talking really young infants, right? Like almost one of the first words that we speak is no.
No, always,
Because we're
right?
honoring that we don't want that. Like, no, I don't want to do this. And we get chastised for saying no almost. So it's one of
Mm-hmm.
those things where there is a history there. And for some of us, it's more so than others, where we
Correct.
didn't have the options for saying no. It wasn't easy for us.
Right.
So
And
yeah.
two, we were conditioned that we're not allowed to say no. And two, depending on our story, if we have a trauma history or we lived in a home environment where, right, you were seen, not heard, do as I say, like very authoritative, like
Yeah.
that doesn't give a child the environment to learn to be like, no, I don't like that. And it being okay. So
Right.
having to learn that later in life, right? Whether it's teenage, young adult, even later, right? Later, it is hard. And that's where we fall back on self compassion and self love. Like you get to honor your truth,
Right.
know your story, know it's hard, and you get to practice. You also get to physical space is not always bad. I think sometimes the outside world teaches us like physical space means you're avoiding and suppressing and shoving it down. I'm like, well, if you're aware of it and you know what you're doing and you're choosing to stay away from it because you know it just doesn't align with you, it doesn't feel good, or it potentially puts you or your loved ones in harm, you absolutely are allowed to just physically stay away. That's okay too. Even in workplaces, if a workplace is very toxic and very unhealthy and there's just bullying and a whole bunch of stuff, it is okay to be like, okay, yes, that's much more of, I need this job though to cover my bills. But you absolutely get the opportunity to be like, what else is out there? You get to say no. I mean, that's when like, right, human resources and things like that are in place. You get to then use your voice. I think also, right, that value of loving yourself, that your voice matters and it's important and the world gets to hear it.
Yes. It is important to speak your truth, and no being one of those truths that you need to really work on doing.
Absolutely.
So we talked a little bit about how we deal with our family and our friends. Is there anything that you should do if someone is really pushing you? Like any suggestions on someone who might actually be really resistant to saying no?
I resistant to saying no or accepting no?
Accepting no, I guess.
Accepting. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, so, right, if we are talking to someone and two, right, and like this oftentimes, let's say like this pops up in intimate relationships, right? We are in love with someone. We are willing to work through it and we are willing to repair. The first layer too is just like pay attention to that behavior, right? Like, what is it that you are asking? You are doing the work, you're finding your voice, you honor your truth, you are practicing saying no and setting those boundaries, and you're willing to work on it. And let's say the person on the other side is absolutely saying no, 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 doesn't, dismiss, dismiss, dismiss. Know that that is hard, and there's a lot of grief in that. Because right here you are doing your work, and the person on the other side doesn't want to align with you, doesn't want to create that space. So sometimes too, right, honoring that there's grief, pay attention to their behaviors. Their behaviors will say, what are they willing to listen to and respect? And sometimes too, right, it really comes down to if the person on the other side is resistant and refuses. And this also can too, right? Are we talking about someone that just won't make you a morning coffee? Can we learn to live that your other half won't ever make you a morning coffee because what it just their thing? All the way to, but once it comes to like emotional, physical, sexual, financial, if they don't say no, the most important thing is building that support system to get you safely out of there. And it is hard. And they will then, right? Then naturally that oftentimes you see the other one then comes looking, comes begging, and being aware of it. Are they only being kind to get you back in? And once you're back in, it goes right back to, I'm not accepting any of your no's and I'm going to do what I want. And it is hard and layered. So building a support system to help you get out of that situation is really, really important. And that can take friends, family, absolute therapy. Sometimes it even takes like you need help from the police. And that sometimes could be scary too, depending on everyone's personal experience if they have that in their environments.
Yeah, I believe that having social connections really does help us in so many ways, mentally, emotionally, just to make sure that we have sounding boards for things, but that support system just can be so beneficial.
Absolutely. I think that too, right? Speaks to community. Community is so important. And it could be genetic family members. It can be families we married into. It can be our neighbors. It can be friends. It can be our work family. It can be, and this is where too, sometimes, right? Social media platforms, there's communities out there. You might bond on a page or a group of people that really can help. Community is key and it is part of our overall health. And also being able to evaluate our community. Is our community healthy? Can they say no? It is devastating to be in a situation where you're emotionally, physically, financially, or sexually abused and your community minimizes it or
Right.
hush it down. That doesn't matter. That doesn't happen. We can't speak. The world can't know that happened here. That is devastating. And that's where like clinical therapy can really come in to help build and process all of the trauma and the layers and knowing it's going to take time to build up that community. But there's people out there and there's healthy people, and we can choose. We can choose how healthy do we want to be? How much focus do we want to put on our health, emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, all about.
And that is a key that you mentioned is the choice, right? We have a choice, and sometimes those choices are not easy choices to make.
No.
But knowing that you might be in this particular situation right now that is toxic, that is not supportive of you, there is a whole world out there of alternate people and support systems that you could potentially go to. So, sometimes we just need to think beyond our current situation and really see that there's a lot more out there.
Absolutely. And another thing I see often too, it's like, oh, this is hard. This is hard. When does it get easy? Hard things, hard conversations will always be hard. What changes is how we look at it, how we approach it, how close or far we are to it, but also really the game changer is that how much love do you have for self-love? Like that is a hard conversation. And this isn't going to feel good. However, I'm willing to get through it. I am willing to say and do what I need to do to get myself out of it. And then those hard things don't happen so often and they don't feel as overarching, like gloomy and over our heads and really weighing us down because we start to really separate from how often the hard happens. If you're dealing with a hard every day, no, it is going to be hard to think anything outside of it because this is what you've been used to.
Right.
So just knowing that like hard is something that we learn to navigate. We don't make hard go away. Hard is hard.
Right. It totally is.
Mm-hmm.
How can we find some balance maybe with our social needs and protecting our time and energy?
I'm like going in, going to your heart center. No, who am I? What is it that I want? What is it that we enjoy? How much time do we like being surrounded by people? Or do we like to be in our gardens? Right? And finding that balance. Like I like to go out and walking in nature. I find it very grounding, very therapeutic, very relaxing. So then it's like finding those people, places, and things that you enjoy. And you'll enjoy it because at the end of it, you're like, wow, that felt good. Something that you don't enjoy doesn't feel good at the end of it.
Right. That's one key indicator, right? That's a
Mm-hmm.
feel good during it, after it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, evaluate at the end. In the beginning, your anxious brains or our minds gonna be like all the things that we don't want to do. How did it feel going through it? But at the end, did we feel replenished? So listening to our body is going to be really key. And no, like that is very hard when you've experienced lots of trauma because your body's in it all the time, right? So getting to places of finding those things, people, places, things that you like. Nature is really key. It really does. There's so much research to support nature, and getting outside is really helpful for grounding and calming our nervous system. So that is something that can be really natural. At first, you might be like, oh, I don't know, but like sitting in it, and as you emotionally detach from things. So really finding that balance and finding it is giving yourself the opportunity to get up and go do it. Get up and go do it and evaluate, did that feel right? Do I want to do more of this? The time with this person, when I see this person, I always feel replenished, recharged. I'm so excited to see them. Those are the people you want to hang out with. The places that you go, this is beautiful. This is enjoyment. I like the environment. I like the energy. Those are the places you go to. And really kind of shifting from things that exhaust you and finding things that replenish you. And yes, sometimes we're going to have to deal with things that exhaust us.
Yes.
But then we go home and we take care of ourselves. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Self-care, self-love,
Mm-hmm.
looking at us as our being and just really kind of focusing in on, I always hear this, which I thought was kind of silly, right, from therapists was, find the glitters, find those little sparks of happiness, right? I mean, it makes sense as silly as it sounds, I guess, right? But when you're in that situation, you're just kind of like, oh, okay, really, there's glitters, but getting outside and doing things and finding and getting back to some of the activities that you just love to do, whether it's gardening or drawing, cooking, anything that you can possibly meditating.
Meditate.
On a daily basis is huge, just to be able to give you your own personal space, your own personal introspection,
Absolutely. Meditating and prayer can do that. And also too, I'm like, we can't forget the basics. Are you sleeping? Are you eating? Are you hydrated? And that is truly even something that I ask all my clients when they're just overwhelmed and gloomy and exhausted. I was like, great, well, let's back it up to basics. How's
Yep.
your sleep? How's your eating?
Yep.
How you're not if you're only drinking coffee all day, I can tell you're not gonna feel good by the end of the day because you have no water. If
Right.
you eat nothing with nutrition, something, right? Like our body needs that to be fueled. So, like, yes, there's activities to go, but
Yep.
also the basics. Your sleep, what's in your body is very, very important. Because
Yep.
we're at upset stomach or you didn't eat all day. When we're overwhelmed emotionally, we have no appetite. Your body is going to feel and almost like mirror that like anxious, depressed kind of place of like, I just feel so unsettled. I'm like, yeah, because you're hungry. And then if we've experienced lots of trauma, sometimes it's really hard to even identify, am I hungry? Am I thirsty? I can kind of do without all day. Well, your body's going to be cueing you, but we're going to be distracted by the big hard stuff and we're going to forget. So we need sleep and eating and water. And then, yes, exploring those people, places, and things that feel good at the end of it.
I am a big proponent on sleep stress reduction. Like I'm doing business training for those things because that is so very key. Sleep, if you're not sleeping, like everything else is just gonna falter. You know, you
Agreed.
can be eating as healthy as you want, but if you are not sleeping well and you're not reducing your stress, like those two things just kind of go hand in hand and they will just continuously just cycle. And I know because I've had that experience and it can be bad. Your
Mm-hmm.
body will just shut down.
Mm-hmm. It does. Your body does. Your body will get so exhausted. So it's amazing that you're doing that work. And I'm like, and there's a need, and it's easy. Again, all the devices and the demands. It is so easy to be like, I'm just gonna give up sleep. I'm like, oh no,
Yeah, everyone seems to
no,
think that sleep is like this extra bonus or something. It's wasted time. I'm like, no, that is like the most important time. Like your lymphatic system is like cleansing itself at night.
correct.
It is just so,
Correct. Correct. And you're right. And like that's such a beautiful like example too of like, yes, there's stuff and emotions, but our emotional health and our physical health is so intertwined. So it's also okay if like, yeah, there's times you're gonna work on your emotional stuff and clearing your mind, but you also have to go back and like, okay, but did I get movement? Did
right.
I eat? Did I drink? Did I actually get good quality sleep? Because sometimes that's all you need. That big stressor, there's nothing to do. What you need to do is get a good night's sleep, get a good meal in you, and be like, wait, there's nothing tangible I can do with that stressor. I'm just feeling through it, writing it out, and many things can resolve themselves.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
This was great.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining me
You
today.
are very welcome. It was such a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah. And I want to thank our special sponsor again, Seroptimus International of Willimantic. I highly encourage anyone to join and check out this organization to help educate and support young girls and ladies and empower their futures at seroptimuswillimantic.org. And I'm also doing self-care socials actually at our local senior center on Tuesdays at 3 o'clock. So if anyone's available, they can come by and join. We have refreshments and talk. We do some meditation. So feel free to check that out at the Lebanon Senior Center. And also check us out on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Of course, this podcast you can follow and explore our website for our holistic coaching services and business services that are offered. And Joanna, where can anyone find you that's interested in digging a little bit deeper into some self-love?
Absolutely. So, like I was saying, I happily share my direct number is 860-306-4535. Psychology Today, Joanna Cirigliano. You can find that and you can reach me through that way too. And also just a quick Google search of my name will pop up on my website. So it's really easy to find me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been great.
You're welcome. Thank you.